Good day, everyone. This is Ed Johnson of the EJ3 show, and today I'm just going to talk a little bit about on a very basic level and a very philosophical, basically philosophical level about religion, um, concepts of religion, and how it's impacted upon me. My perspective on faith and religion when I was younger, up to the time of, excuse me, now. Now, I, like many, I would probably say most black Americans was raised up in the church. My mother and father, they weren't like super religious, like I'm not going to even say to the extreme, but, like, you know what I'm saying. Some people were more involved with the church, and depending on what denomination that you were a part of, etc., I mean, let's just put it this way. I'll start out with my mom. She was a Baptist, or is a Baptist. She was active in the church in terms of being she was the church secretary. For a long time, she was a senior usheress. Also, as leading the junior ushers, or the young people. She did that for a period of time, for a long time, up until the point now that she's elderly and, she's developed the symptoms that many, if not most, elderly people are, but that's here nor there. My father, when he was living, he was of a different faith. He was a Methodist. And one thing I liked in terms of just as an aside, that even though they were different, my mother and father were different faiths, they made the decision, they've never discussed it with me or my sister, but obviously they made the decision that in terms of like going to church, we would go to my mom's church for whatever reason they decided to do that. And then my father would continue to go to his church, but, he would make occasional visitations to my mom's church and vice versa, taking the whole family or whatever, but which was good in terms of cooperating and things, but that's not what this is about. I mean, what I'm really wanting to touch upon, like I said, at a most basic level and in a thoughtful manner, is that my concept of religion in terms of like how I was socialized and acculturated from a Western perspective is sort of having me questioning now in terms of as I've gained more knowledge in terms of like the whole concept of Western religion, with it basically being 6,000 years old, as opposed to like the many or the religious concepts that were incorporated in the countries of Africa, and in particular West Africa. That's where most of our ancestors came from. Were ongoing way before Christianity, and I'm not going to get into a whole history primer as I always do, or try not to do, because a lot of people that listen to my show and watch my show, as well as other blogs, are highly intelligent people and have done their research and reading or whatever. So I don't need to bash you over the head with that. But bottom line is that we know that the whole concept of how the appearance of how Jesus Christ looks, what that's based on, is not the reality, and also that the Bible being written, it was reinterpreted, rewritten, etc. That whole aspect or whatever. But anyway, as I learn more things and throughout my life, and to read more and gain more knowledge, it's got me questioning, I guess, somewhat. I mean, I still want to think of myself, or I think that I am still, from a most basic level, believe in a God, a presence, because I don't believe that things could just come out of chaos in terms of, things evolving or whatever. I guess I could take tenets of many components of evolution or whatever. I think that, in my opinion, in terms of that aspect, that I'm of the belief that, the time aspect the way man perceives it is different than the God entity perceived it. And so I'm saying that to mean that whereas, a day might be 1,000 years, that I'm coming from that angle, basically. So I do think that that's the case, like our perception as man and women of time is different from the God presence that's here. And I do think that, I don't think that things just came out of chaos. But that being said, I don't think that, Jesus Christ, was as presented in the popular images for the reasons as, for many black people that have read and things understand, Now, whether he was a brother with a fro or whatever, even though it says lamb's wool or whatever, I don't necessarily think that either. If it's like your average African-American brother that you might see on the street, I don't think that either. I think that it would be more in line of like, the countries of that era, the people that live in that particular area, where they might have a swarthy complexion or to brown's complexion or whatever, a Mediterranean to, East Africanized type of look. I think that's it. But definitely, I think we can all agree that it wasn't like a white appearance. I'm going to take a pause for a cause, and I will follow up and conclude my presentation in terms of my thoughts on religion. So I'll be right back. So the conclusion is being that I guess I would say that as I've, learned more and read more, I guess with a lot of things, a lot of things that you take at face value, and definitely a most basic concept, but particularly for someone that's a black American in terms of religiosity of how we've been, or how I was socialized, and the lessons that were taught might not necessarily be the actual truth. So I guess it's something, it's a quest that I'm going to continue. And let me just add that I'm not a super religious person, never have been. I mean, like some people, when I gave examples of when I was growing up, I didn't have any choice. From the old school times, I didn't have any choice, I was going to go to Sunday school, I was going to go to church, etc. That line of thinking or whatever. So it's not, I'd like to think that on a basic level, I'm a quote unquote good person, or I try to be, just, incorporating some of the basic lessons of the Bible or whatever. Live by the, treat people as you want to, if you want to be treated. That level, I'm just at that basic level. I'm not able to quote Bible verses and things of that nature. I was never at that level and never wanted to be, quite honestly. But just in terms of like how I viewed religion then, as compared to as I've learned more, and I guess it started to have me questioning a little bit. But I still do believe, like I said, as I said at the beginning, that that there is a higher presence, because I don't think things just came out of chaos. The timeline that it might have come out of, as I sort of talked about before too, I'm sort of along the line of those that believe that how we perceive time is different than how the God presence did. So I'm sure there's a divergence of thought on this, and there's always been throughout history. As I've always stated, you can feel free to share your thoughts and opinions and critiques. Again, this is the EJ3 Perspective Show, and I look forward to speaking with you the next time. Have a good and productive timeline. Until then, take care.